Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for December 9th, 2024. The members present at this meeting, Mr. Curran, Mr. Keeman, Mr. Andrews, Mr. Kimball, Mr. Blas, and myself, John Goldrosen. Mr. Jones is not yet here. He will be here for the 7 o'clock meeting. So the first case is case number 20 for 2024, location of property, 24 Homeland Drive. I meant to announce this. This meeting's being recorded as required by the Whitman Town bylaws, and the recording will be put on the Whitman-Hanson Community Access TV website and on YouTube. All right, this is case number 20 for 2024, location of property, 24 Homeland Drive, type of district, residence A1, type of structure, existing dwelling, proposed shed, owner's name, Michael and Amy Silverman, owner's address, 24 Homeland Drive. When did you acquire this property? February 2006. Has application been filed with town clerk? Yes. Has any previous appeal been made? No. Section of bylaw of which relief is requested, section 240-62A. Reason for asking relief, applicant wishes to construct a shed beside the existing dwelling that was constructed prior to existing setback requirements. Applicant seeks a 5-foot sideline setback variance and a 1-foot setback variance from the existing dwelling. This case was advertised in the Whitman-Hanson Express on November 21st and 28th. Sitting on the case will be Mr. Curran, Mr. Keeman, Mr. Andrews, Mr. Blas, and myself, John Goldrosen. At this time, we'll have the reading of the list of abutters.
List of abutters, Robert Golan, 631 Auburn Street, Sheila Fitzgerald, 588 Hope Memorial Drive, Ollie Safarfian, 596 Hope Memorial Drive, Philip Edgerton, Junior Trustee, Irene Edgerton Trust, 606 Hope Memorial Drive, Linda Kearns, 643 Auburn Street, John Lewis, Lisa Lewis, 17 Homeland Drive, Judith McInnes, 22 Homeland Drive, Joseph and Cheryl Siciliano, 29 Homeland Drive, Kenneth Hayes, 36 Homeland Drive, Randall and Teresa Mercer, 41 Homeland Drive, Jacqueline Ferriera, 48 Homeland Drive, Christopher and Marie Schofield, 382 Homeland Drive.
Okay, thank you. Okay, since this is a public hearing and we're taking testimony from people, we ask that anybody participating in this hearing, if you'd raise your right hand and take an oath so you can testify on this. So anybody who's here for Homeland Drive, okay, do you solemnly swear the evidence you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, will the procedures, we let the applicant present, explain what they want to do. I'll read some letters into the record from town boards, and then we'll have questions and comments from members of the zoning board, and then we'll go out to the public for any questions and comments that you have. So if the applicants want to introduce themselves and explain what they want to do.
So should I stand up or?
Sure.
My name is Michael Silverman. My plan is I would like to have this shed constructed mainly because I am a tool distributor for Mac Tools, and the shed would primarily be used for overstock, and what I can't fit in the truck basically will be stored in the shed temporarily until for sales. The house just isn't big enough to hold all the tools, plus she won't let me store them there, so gotta find a secondary location.
And can you explain, so just so everyone knows, the requirement in the bylaws for an accessory building like a shed is to be 10 feet from the property line and 10 feet from the house, the structure, the dwelling. So, as I look at the plan, if you had it in more towards the backyard, you'd be able to meet those 10-yard requirements. Or even if you had it on the opposite side of the house, probably it'd be close, but it looks like you have a little more. Well, maybe it's about the same amount of room. I'm not sure. But if you can explain to us why it is you need these setbacks and variances, and why you can't put it somewhere else.
Yeah, right now my tool truck is parked on the left side of the house. I can't put it on the right side because the trees hang down too low, and it's so that that's why I have the truck over there. I could, in a worst case scenario, put the truck on the right side of the house, but I'd have to put in a secondary driveway. Plus, also on the left side of the house is a big tree that is kind of taking up a little bit of the space where the shed could possibly go. Also, the access to my backyard is on the left side, and the shed would be taking over the doorway to my where the opening of the fence is to get into the backyard. The reason that I wouldn't like to put the shed in the backyard is the backyard is a lot of wetlands, and when it rains, it gets real soft back there. And I'd be afraid of sinkage, the shed sinking, and also it's just a kind of a convenience factor where the truck is in the front of the house, and it'd just be easier just to put the overstock in instead of walking through the backyard. I mean, that's just a personal preference.
Okay. All right. And just describe what I see what the dimensions for the shed look like. 10 by 20. Is it going to be like 1 story? What is the shed going to look like?
One story, 10 by 20, 10 feet wide, 20 feet long. Is going to have an overhead door.
Okay.
On the front, and a smaller side door in the back, or the back side. That's what I'm planning anyway. I haven't really talked to the shed people about that.
Would it be metal or just
It would be wood.
Wood. Okay. All right. And so not as a garage for a vehicle, but just for storing materials.
Correct.
Okay. And do you have a garage?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Let me read some letters into the record, and then we'll go out to members of the board, and also for the board's knowledge. The building inspector could not be here tonight. He informed me of that. Did you get his? He has submitted a letter for the 7 o'clock case, but he didn't have any issues with this other than needs a variance. So that's up to the board. All right, letters from other town boards. Whitman Fire Rescue and Emergency Services. Dear members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, at this time, Whitman Fire Rescue and Emergency Services has no objection to this proposal, provided all applicable fire and building codes are met. Sincerely, Nicholas Grasso, Deputy Chief. From the Board of Health, the Whitman Board of Health grants approval for the petition of Michael and Amy Silverman for a variance from Section 240-62A, as the applicant wishes to construct a shed beside the existing dwelling, which needs a 5-foot sideline setback variance and 1-foot setback variance from the existing dwelling for the property located at 24 Homeland Drive. DPW records indicate that the current property is connected to municipal water and sewer. Sincerely, Dan Kelly, Health Agent. And from the Planning Board, at the November 19, 2024 meeting, the board reviewed the plan for 24 Homeland Drive. The Planning Board recommends denial pending the applicant's willingness to relocate to meet required setbacks by a vote of 5-0-0. Adam Somerville, Chairman. Okay, comments and questions from members of the board. Mr. Curran?
Yeah. Hello, how you doing?
How are you doing, Ted?
I have a question. What are you gonna use the shed for? Can you explain that?
It's basically overstock for my tool business.
Is it your business?
Yes.
You own the business?
Yeah.
Are you gonna do anything for the house in there too? Or
Um,
snow blower or tools?
no, the snow blower and the lawnmower in the back.
And how big is the truck you use?
The truck is a 20-foot truck, about 11 feet. 11
Like a snap-on?
Yeah, it's like Snap-on. The Mac is a competitor of Snap-on.
Yeah. I don't have anything else.
Okay. Mr. Keeman?
I have no questions.
Mr. Andrews?
Is there any reason why you couldn't have your building back a little further or turn it the other direction? So instead of being the long way, it would be the other way. You've got a whole backyard there.
I have, well, the plan is to have the shed right up against the fence. I was thinking about taking down some of the fence, but there are some trees there too, which I could also take down trees. There's another shed in the back where I put the lawn equipment and the snowball. It's probably about, I'd say about 5 feet from the fence. So the furthest back I'd be able to go with this would be butted up to that, which is a possibility. I could possibly do that, but I'd have to cut down some trees first.
Could you turn the building sideways instead?
No, because the door would be right up against the trees. The plan is to have a door on the front side, and then have a small door to get access to the backyard.
So it'd be like an overhead door, sliding door.
No,
Kind
but you couldn't turn your building this way and move it in a little.
It wouldn't be.
I mean, you've got all that backyard. It can't all be water.
It's not really so much water. It just gets real soft when it rains. I'm just afraid of sinkage.
It might be wetland. I mean, it might be. Have you checked with the Conservation Commission?
I have not.
Yeah, you better check with them, because if you're within even 100 feet of a wetland, you need to go to them for approval.
Well, I know the backyard is fenced in, and there is a section beyond the fence that I was told was part of my land. That is, there is kind of. I've never actually gone back there. I was told that there is almost like a water source almost. Beyond the fence that I can see is nothing but dirt.
Yeah, you better check with the Conservation Commission, because even if it's what you're describing is seasonally wet, that can be wetland.
Yeah.
So you better, whatever we do, you better check with them before putting it up there.
That's one of the main reasons I wanted to keep it on the side of the house.
If I just interrupt you, Wayne, can you just, you mentioned the fence a couple of times, and it's not shown on the diagram. Can you explain where the fence is for this house?
The corner of the house, from there to the property line, there's a fence that runs across.
On the right-hand side of the house? And on the left-hand side of the house, you also have?
There's on the right side it's stockade, on the left side it's chain link.
Okay, so you basically have the backyard fenced off.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you say the back corner of the house, you want to just come up here and show me
Yeah, the drawing is a little off. The shed here, I mean, right now my household shed, for the lawn equipment and everything and the snow blower is about right here. And this would actually be up a little bit more because the fence runs across.
All right, so just explain to people. So if you see the right-hand corner of the house, right about where it says 9.3 feet.
Correct.
That fence runs across, so actually the drawing's a bit inaccurate. The shed would be further forward.
I mentioned that to Mr. Garvey when he surveyed. He told me as long as it is beyond the 24 and a half feet from the street, then that's where it is on the drawing. It wouldn't really matter.
Yeah, well, it might matter to the neighbor, though. So we actually need to know where it's going to be. So it really would run, I don't know what the
It would.
Is your house 20 feet?
I didn't measure that. I just measured the front. The front. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the actual proposed location of the shed would be basically parallel to the house.
Even in front of the house.
Yeah, probably even with the front of the house, or maybe a foot or two further back than that.
It would probably be a little further back.
Can you show me that?
Yeah, you want to show them?
Why is it you can't take this and turn it this way?
Well, I mean,
Why can't you bring it in here?
the truck is here,
Yeah.
and it's just more of a convenient factor just to bring it that way. And usually when UPS drops off my packages, they drop it off on your front door. It's just a convenience factor.
Have you talked to this abutter?
I have not.
See if they have a problem with being too.
They're very quiet. I think I'm in the years that they've lived there, I might have seen them twice. They don't really.
It just seems when you've got all that land, you shouldn't have to get a variance. That's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Kimball, even though you're not sitting on the case, if you have any questions or
Yeah,
comments?
I've got a couple. One thing I would say that make a condition that the front of the shed would not be any closer to the street than the front of the house.
Yeah,
That would be one thing. Number two, where the shed you want to put, that's where you have that canvas thing right now.
Yes.
And you had the canvas thing on the other side of the house previously.
It was in the backyard before, but
It's terrible.
yes.
And you've got that car under the blue top. Is that going to stay there, or is that?
No, I'm going to find a place for that too. That's just completely temporary.
Okay.
The story behind that is my father, the cars belong to him. Well, one of the cars belongs. Right now, there's a car inside that tent.
Okay. 'Cause you're only supposed to have so many unregistered cars on the property.
Well, both the cars are registered. The one that's inside the tent is actually my father's car. He has Alzheimer's. He can't drive anymore. So my mother wants the car out of sight so he doesn't see it. So I'm kind of holding onto the car a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. But it is registered. It's just.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
okay, thank you. Mr. Blas?
Can you just, while you're up here, can you show me where does where does your lawn end and vegetation start?
There's no vegetation in the back there. It's beyond the fence where all the.
So that's all lawn back there.
Yeah, and right here, the neighbors have.
Well, I'm looking and
I don't know. Yeah,
this is your side yard.
yeah. There's no tree in that pit. That tree is gone as well.
That tree's gone.
Yeah,
So your side yard, you've got a little bit of vegetation on the inside of that fence.
that's all the neighbors' stuff.
That's neighbors.
Yeah.
So you have a fence there now?
Well, you can't really see much in the picture, but there is a fence that runs across. It's old.
It runs across, but nothing
Yeah.
that goes. Well, what about between you and your neighbor?
There's no fence there. There was at one time, but it's gone. That's actually that picture is probably, as a matter of fact, I think it was from 2013 when that was. Because see the structure there, that's gone. That's the truck that's there now, the Mack truck that's there now. Yeah, that's an old picture. I don't even have that van anymore.
Are the McManuses here?
No.
Okay.
Okay, but they're on the list of abutters, correct?
Yeah.
And
I'm actually real friendly with her. I actually talked to her yesterday. She's like, she had no issues.
$22.
Yeah, Judith.
Are they on that list? Just want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay, good. Just for the record. So this is going to be like a Reed's Ferry or
Yeah,
a shed like that?
the place right across the street from Stop and Shop.
Oh,
Shape.
Yeah.
oh, that is a Reed's Ferry now.
Yeah.
And well, you're going to pour. Are you going to? It's not going to have a footer though, right?
No, it's they recommend they say laser level gravel. So I'm going to be putting a little bit of gravel down that's going to be sitting on top of that.
Okay. probably need to talk to the building commissioner about that.
They upped that to 200 square feet.
Is
So
it 200?
you can put a 14 by 14, no problem. That's close. He might allow it.
And you'll need hurricane, what are they going, hurricane?
So you don't even need a permit unless it's over 200 square feet.
Yeah, I was told that anything bigger than a 10 by 20, I would need a permit.
Okay. That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, back when you looked in,
Mine was 240, yeah, mine was 240. What's the grade on the back of your property? How many feet does it go down between the back of your house and, say, your fence?
It's fairly level up until about here, then it starts to slope down just slightly. I mean, there's ruts and
I don't seem to have much issue with the 5-foot setback, but I really think 10 foot, you really need 10 foot between the house and the accessory.
See, I was,
Unless there's just no other way around it, but you've got room to do that. So I guess I'm a little concerned. What kind of, are you gonna have power out there? Are you putting a sub panel out there?
I'm not planning on it, but
I mean, it gets dark at 4:30. How are you gonna, you use a flashlight to access your stock and put it away?
I haven't really thought that far ahead, to be honest with you. I wasn't planning on putting power on it.
headlights from your truck.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you put power, and that's why the 10 foot's so important.
A lot of flashlights nowadays, they get run off of. I can hang a flashlight if it came to that. I wasn't planning on putting any 110 into it.
You won't be happy unless you have 110 in there.
Yeah, I mean, if I chose that in a future date, would I have to contact you to do that, or?
Well, no, I think if we give the variance, we give the variance, but,
That'd be an issue for the building inspector, I
yeah.
think.
I don't think I have anything else.
Okay. See, I was gonna say the opposite, Mr. Blas. Why not move, even if we're gonna approve it in that location, why not move the shed a little closer to the house and even off the distance? I did ask the building inspector about that, and I got the feeling, 5 or 6 feet needs to be some separation, but he wouldn't mind if it was a little closer.
I guess you could put a breezeway in
Mr.
and
Cullen,
it would all become one.
5 feet, fire department would confirm that. But if he's putting chemicals or explosives or flammables in there.
You're not gonna accept, no gas cans?
No.
Ah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just, again, I would just see what the neighbors have to say, but to me, even it off a little bit. Yeah, my only comment is, initially when I looked at this and I said, why isn't he just moving it back and meeting the setbacks? But based on the explanation that the ground's wet back there, I mean, that's soil shape topography for variance. It looks like it's roughly the same. He only has 25 feet from the house to the property line, and it looks like the other side of the house looks roughly the same. So you think about it, I mean, it's physically impossible to put a 10-foot shed and have 10 feet on each side, and
Yeah.
given the location and dimensions of the house, which predates zoning.
It would be
So-
a lot easier to have the shed on this side than to have to put it on there, because
Yeah.
I'd have to put my truck on this side, and then I'd have to put into the driveway in, and
Yeah, and
I'd rather not.
you mentioned there's a big tree on the
There's a big
left-hand
tree on
side,
that
so
side,
that
yeah.
takes it away. And I guess I'd rather see a shed there than see a big truck on that side of the house.
Yeah.
Mr. Cullen,
Thing is,
Ms. Keane.
move it over to the 9 inches, so we've got 10 feet between the house and the shed. And then just need the one variance for,
Yeah, but I'd rather not see it any closer to the property line than it is now, and I'd almost rather see it somewhat centered so you could get around the shed easily.
That's what Mr.
and
Garvey was saying. He told me 5 feet would be.
I think that's the minimum, just so you can get around the back of the shed and maybe even closer. All right, let me go out to the public and see what comments we have here. So I know there are a couple neighbors here. If you just give us your name and address and tell us.
Linda Kelly Hayes. I'm at 36 Homeland Drive.
And so where are you in relation?
Okay, the next door neighbor.
Oh, you're the next door neighbors.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Lindsay never sees.
Yeah.
My concern was the canvas, covering, there's 2 cars in there, and it's awfully close to my line. The exhaust goes right in my window. And I was just wondering what was gonna happen with that. Is that gonna,
Yeah, can you respond to that?
you're gonna leave that
Well,
there?
one of the cars is mine. It will be staying on the property. The other car is actually my father's. The one that's inside the tent right now is my father's.
Yeah,
I'm holding it there because he has Alzheimer's and he wants to drive and he can't drive.
yeah, I got off that,
Yeah.
but,
So that's why the car was there for now. The plan, whether the car stays in the yard, I don't know yet. It all depends on how long he sticks around for, to be honest.
What's the situation with the other car?
The other car I've owned for about 24 years.
Okay,
And that car, it runs and drives, everything's fine. It's just, that was in the tent. And since my father's car is now in there, that car was forced outside. But I am going to find places for those.
because once you put, if we approve the shed, there won't be room for those cars on that side, right? Okay,
So I have to find,
so that would actually
yeah.
force you to move it, even if it's to the other side of the house, I suppose, presumably. And Ms. Hayes, I don't know if you saw the plan, so I don't know if you understand. Why don't you come on up and take a look, just, I want to explain to you where the shed would be. So, here's your property.
right,
The shed would actually go forward, but not be any closer to the street than this, but it'll sort of be alongside the house here.
okay. Yeah, so you'll take down that old shed?
Yeah, the tent's going. Yes, that'll be gone.
Yeah, because right now the tent is like right here.
It's
Okay.
literally right on the corner.
Okay,
And there's another shed back there too?
Yeah, there's a metal shed and a wooden shed. The wooden shed is in really bad shape, and as soon as I have the money to do it, I will be replacing that.
Are they
That's
on,
more for
which
yard.
side of the lot are they? They should be on the.
it should have been shown on the
Yeah,
plan,
for
but
some reason, I don't know why
Yeah,
they're
so,
not.
okay.
There are 2 sheds right next to each other.
Why don't you come up
Are they-
and
are they behind the fence?
Yeah, they're beyond the fence.
here?
Okay,
Here's the fence.
Yeah,
Show us on your.
this would actually be
Let him finish
upward,
that,
and
then
the other sheds are about right here.
Oh.
It's not working, but. Yeah, so right now the fence runs right across, and the other one shed is about right here, and the other one's right next to it.
Okay. I mean, I'm probably going to make a condition that those 2 go before this is approved, or before any building permit or any new accessories allowed there. I can pretty much guarantee that.
Okay, because those 2 sheds in there, that's for my like lawnmower and the snow blower and yard equipment.
And you can put them somewhere in the back of a lot, potentially.
If I tried to move them, they would fall apart.
But, well, I'm just telling you.
Hey, couldn't you just put all your lawn equipment in the shed you're gonna build? Do you have enough room for both?
10 by 20. I mean, we already talked about before that they didn't want any gas related stuff in that shed.
If you're more than 5 feet, I mean, fire chief's here, he's probably okay with it. So, and right now, you show 9.3.
If I was to put the shed I want to construct on the other side of the house, would that be would I have to make all new blueprints and everything for that? And
I don't know,
Then
we
you're
could,
into the problem. You said if you put it there, then you got to put the truck on the other side with
truck
the
would be there.
driveway, and we're not going to want that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the shed's better on this side of the house and have the truck on the other side.
How about if I was to see where the fence is there? How about if I was to have the shed here? I'll show you. If I was to have the shed like here,
Behind the fence.
behind the fence, The fence is in really bad shape. I was planning on tearing it down anyway because
But you've got these other sheds.
those would be, I could arrange to have them torn down or moved. I mean, if that's what I have to do to have this other shed put up, then
I mean, could make it, are you currently using either of those sheds to
Yeah.
store some of your tools? too?
yeah, I have a riding.
But we
mower.
could make it a condition that they're to be torn down upon the construction of the shed, and, you know, the building inspector can enforce that.
Within 60 days of,
Yeah, something like that. So we could address that. Let me get back to Ms. Hayes. Basically, you're okay with having, you know, do you have an issue with the shed being in this location, be 5 feet from your property line, and you don't have any fence there on your side?
No,
No.
no, there's no fence. No, I have no objection to the shed. I just had an objection to where
Where the cars are.
it's right in my bedroom window.
Yeah. So the shed would be, you know, roughly parallel to your house, but there wouldn't be any
I thought it
windows
was
in the
supposed-
shed or anything,
No, they
so
were supposed to be 10 feet.
it's supposed to be 10 feet, and that's why it's here for a variance.
That's why you want the variance.
Because there's only 25 feet between the house and the property line. The shed's 10 feet, that only leaves us 15 feet to play with in some fashion.
I mean, if I could get it closer to the house, I would.
Okay,
What I was told, and this is,
yeah,
you know, if you know that it's better to have it further from the house and closer to the property line than the other way around. That's what I was told.
I agree with that.
and what, Mr. Blas, what's your reasoning? Why do you prefer it that
It
way?
looks better, and it looks better.
Just,
If your access, just usability of your yard.
yeah,
You know, you got double the yard space.
And that tent would be going away, and the shed definitely looks better than the tent that's there right now.
okay.
Yeah, the tent.
So I guess, yeah, we just want to know.
So you are planning on getting rid of that?
The tent? Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right.
but
You
it
know.
just,
So again,
the
Tent
fumes
be
are terrible.
removed, shed be
I have
removed within 60
I can't
days.
open my
Yeah.
windows.
Yeah.
That's just on the weekends when you use it, but, you
okay.
know.
All right, so, you know, make a condition that the tents and the other older sheds are to be removed, say, within 60 days of the installation of this shed. You can make that a condition.
Okay.
I mean, actually, you'd be removing those before you build the shed, right? Because you're gonna be,
Yeah, I mean, if that's the condition, then if I wouldn't be doing
Might wanna
anything.
move it back if
Yeah.
that's the,
If that was the case, if I had to tear down those old sheds, then probably wouldn't be doing anything until next spring, probably, anyway. My plan originally would be to do it as soon as possible,
yeah.
but
Well, we could extend that. I mean, that's, well, I mean, but if you put the shed up now, what's to stop you from taking down the other sheds fairly quickly?
if it's to where the design is now, that's right on top of it, is where the old sheds are.
But if we let you move the shed up,
I would, I mean, yeah, I would,
which seems, well, you gotta move the shed up because you got a fence there.
yeah.
So we're saying move the shed up so it's parallel to the house, no closer to the street than the house. The fence will be behind it, and at that point, you're gonna have to, where's the tents and the cars now?
Right now, right now is one car, it's parked right here, right in
Yeah.
front of the AC here. And the other one, the tent is actually up and the other car is
So you're gonna have to
inside the tent.
move those in order to build the shed?
Yes.
Okay, so those will be gone once you build the shed. Right.
Just out of curiosity, if I was to put one of the cars in that shed, is that totally against rules?
I don't think so.
No, as long as you're not doing work on it or something
No,
like that.
it's just if anything, it would be just.
Because the car's probably 20
Well,
feet
no,
long.
no, the car is 15 feet long, and so I'd have 5 feet for my overstock.
Your shed, you're gonna buy it with a floor, right, a wood floor?
Yes,
This car won't go in there.
the ones they have ones that they're made with 4x4 flooring. I actually
Do they have a ramp for them?
yeah.
Yeah. Huh?
And with the wood, and with that construction, if I was to put said car in there, again, this is totally dependent on the situation with my father, because we were trying to figure something out with that. The wood construction, there wouldn't be any fume issue. Right now with the tent, I can totally understand the fume issue because the tent is just an old tent.
All right. I just want to point out something that actually strengthens Mr. Blas's point about let him go up to 5 feet from the property line. And that's because he has an air conditioning unit alongside the house too. And so, the shed's going to be closer. So it isn't even going to be 9 feet from the house. It will be, but it'll be less than that from the air conditioning. So I can see going up there. All right. So I think and anybody else here on this case on Homeland Drive?
Spent a lot of time on a shed.
Yeah. Well, goes to show it would have been helpful if Mr. Garvey had put everything on here. That made it wouldn't have to be explaining so much, including the fence. He usually does that kind of thing.
The fence is, I don't know if they've probably even seen it too. My dog has sometimes gotten loose and she finds a hole in that shed. I got to take that shed down. The fence.
Well, but if you took it down, you'd be replacing the fence, right?
Yes.
Because you got to use it to
Yes.
fence in the dog.
Yeah.
Back, yeah.
Well, the dog is chained up, but she's a pain in the.
Yeah, but you want to be able to fence in the
Yeah.
back. Okay. All right. So I think what we're proposing is allow you to have the shed as close as 5 feet as proposed. Move the shed forward, but no closer to the street than the house is.
It would be a little further back than the house.
Yeah. But it can't be too much further back because it doesn't look like your house is much more than 20 feet deep.
Looks like 25 foot.
24 foot.
24 foot. So, can't be, if you got the fence where it is at the edge of the house, you can't go too much. So we're not saying move it up even with the house. We're saying you can move as close as to be even with, as close to the street as being even with the house at your discretion. And then how the
Existing sheds be removed within 60 days.
So do we want to extend it to 90 days, give them a little bit extra time? Or?
we don't have a problem as long as there's 90 days to remove the existing sheds following construction. So
So I would have to. I probably wouldn't be able to take those sheds down until springtime.
That's 90 days by the time you get it built.
by the time you get there's a 20-day appeal period on this, and
It'll be spring. It'll be
you
spring.
probably won't get this in until January at the earliest. So,
All right, I can.
and I'm sure the building inspector will work with you on if there's an issue, if there's some weather condition that prevents you from getting out there.
And the cart tents be removed
And the cot tents
Car
do.
tent will be removed.
and not replaced.
No, that's going away.
Okay.
Gladly going away. It's not holding up to the weather very well, and it's no.
Okay. I think we got it. Is that
I'll make that motion.
okay? And
I'll second.
okay, I'll close the hearing. The motion's been made by Mr. Blas and seconded by Mr. Curran to approve the variance with the stated conditions. And as grounds for the variance, I just want to state the soil and topography of the backyard where it is wet makes it undesirable to move the shed into the backyard, and the presence of trees on the left-hand side of the property, the trees would have to be removed, so that's not desirable either. And so the shed can be as close as 5 feet to the property line. Again, if you want to adjust it a little bit closer to the house, you could, but you won't want it to be much closer because of the air conditioning unit.
Yeah, it's like a little my lawnmower between the structure.
Yeah.
My AC unit.
So we're approving it up to 5 feet. Okay, I think we've got it. So is the motion made and seconded? Any further discussion from the board? All in favor? 4 in favor, all opposed, 1 opposed. Okay, Mr. Andrews opposed. Okay, it's approved. Thank you, and thank you to the Hayes to come and take a look and help us with this. Oh, yeah. So Sylvan, we just,
Do I set anything to
No.
sign?
no, we have 14 days to file the decision. After we file the decision, there's a 20-day waiting period
Okay.
in case somebody wanted to appeal it. And at
holiday.
that point, you can pick up the decision. You have to file it with Registry of Deeds before you can get a building permit. The building inspector can explain all that.
Okay.
So you're facing another, month or so before you
Okay.
actually build it. Anyway,
And so I probably wouldn't be doing anything until springtime anyway. So.
yeah. Good luck. Yeah, depends on the winter.
Yeah.
Good luck with it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So, any more copies of this coming? We don't? Okay. All right. Thanks to everybody. Oh, we're not too far behind. Okay, I am going to call the next case to order. This is the continuation of case number 17, 100 Portel Avenue, the new proposed Whitman Middle School. Just in case there's anyone here tonight who was not here last time, I'll explain. I'm going to let the applicant make a presentation to explain anything that might have, what changes they've made since the last time. I don't think we have anything new. Did you get it? The board, building inspector's letter? That's here, okay. I'll read any new letters or ask for any new comments from town departments and boards. We'll have questions and comments from members of the board, and then we'll go out to the public for your questions and comments. So with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant. Just introduce yourself and tell us whatever you want to tell us.
Good evening, Andrew Shagnon from the Vertex Companies. I'm the civil engineer for the project. I'm gonna let everybody just very briefly introduce themselves.
Hi, Ashley Cullion, Traverse Landscape Architects.
Julie Rivera with AI3 Architects.
Troy Randall, AI3 Architects.
Stephanie DeFace, Vertex Companies.
Dustin Howell, Traverse Landscape Architects.
Derek Hug, Power Corporation. One more, Mike Reef, College Project Leader. Oh, yeah, that's okay.
Sorry about that.
It's a little bit of a tour face.
Thanks for having us back. We were here several weeks ago when we opened the public hearing. We do have some additional information that we'll present tonight. We do not intend to completely rehash the project. We'd like to go over some of the things. There were some questions and some additional information that were requested for us last time that we were here. We'd like to touch base on those things and then give back to the board for questions, obviously, public questions. I'm hand it over to the landscape architect. I did want to address one engineering issue before I do that. One of the questions that was brought up last time was about the water main. We had presented that there's going to be a new water main connected in the Highland, and that the existing water main off Portel would be discontinued. There's a question at the hearing, why would we do that? We actually went back and did talk with DPW, and they said, in fact, that's not what they want to do. We were mistaken. They actually want to leave the water line that comes in from Hull. They want to leave the water line that comes in from the existing water line that comes in from Portel and add additional water line through Highland. That will increase both supply and pressure to the site with increased redundancy for that.
And will that eliminate a current dead end? I thought you said the Highland Ave had a dead end.
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I would suspect that it is a dead end, and it will eliminate that dead end.
Yeah, I thought that was mentioned last time. Okay.
Stephanie, does that sound? Yep.
Okay.
It was mentioned last time.
Okay.
Okay. I also should have mentioned in my opening, we did some of these issues. We actually responded to in writing between the last time.
Yeah.
Then we'll touch on each one of those issues.
I'd meant. Let me do this first. The applicant didn't send a letter. I think it's probably be helpful if I just read the letter, and that'll save having to go over it, because otherwise you'll make your presentation and then I'll read the letter. So let me read the letter. This is sent to us on November 26th. On behalf of the Town of Whitman Public Schools, the Vertex Companies LLC is pleased to submit revised construction documents for the proposed Whitman Middle School redevelopment in Whitman, Massachusetts, in response to comments and questions from the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting held on Monday, I think it was November, what was the last? October 20th?
It was
October 21st, 2024. My mistake. Yeah. Questions presented during the meeting which have been addressed are outlined below. Question number 1, where will snow go? Answer. Snow will be placed within available landscape islands. In cases of large snow accumulation events, excuse me, snow will be placed within low-use parking areas to keep all drive aisles, emergency vehicle routes, and walkways clear and safe for students and community members. Number 2, why is the new water line proposed to connect within Highland Avenue instead of Cortell Avenue? Answer, after speaking with the Whitman DPW, it has been decided to keep the connections within Hogg Memorial Drive and Highland Avenue, as well as Cortell Avenue. The water line will circle the building with these 3 connections. Number 3, has the traffic study been revised? Answer, the traffic study is in the process of being revised and will be complete by the next meeting on December 9th. Number 4, how long is the water line connection to Highland Avenue? Answer, 230 feet. 5, are you providing any fence as a buffer to the surrounding properties? Answer, yes. Fencing has been added along the northern parking area adjacent to the 25 Highland Avenue property and the adjacent Jackson Field and Future Fields locations. This fencing can be seen on sheets C2.0 through C2.2. Number 6, will the Jackson Field fence be replaced or repaired? Answer, yes, the fencing will be replaced as part of the project. Number 7, what will the field access fencing look like throughout construction? Answer, construction fencing will be provided on both the site and neighboring property sides with ample path space in between. The neighboring side of the fence will not have a screen to provide visibility. The school side construction fence will have a screen. 8, what is the distance between the new and old school buildings? Answer, at the closest point, the distance is 12 feet. 9, how will foot traffic to the Highland Avenue footpath be addressed throughout construction? Answer, the footpath will be closed throughout Phase 1 of construction and will be reopened for Phase 2 of construction. We appreciate your feedback and consideration of this important town project. Please feel free to contact us prior to the meeting on December 9, 2024 if you have any questions or concerns. Sincerely, the Vertex Companies, Andrew Shagnon, PE. Okay, so take it from there.
And we will in fact touch on each one of those things in the presentation so that you can see, that you can actually get a visual of that.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you for that sum up of everything we're going to speak to. But we had some great feedback last meeting, and I think fencing was a big one because we were not aware of how the fencing really did need to be replaced. So as provided in your documents, you have a new plan that includes new chain link fencing that is the replacement of the old around the Jackson Field and around those side fields so that balls can't get through, but also making it a more finished product and safer for everybody, especially with understanding there's a stream next to this. And then we also received some comments right here about a stockade fence, a wood fence that was in existence but was going to be close to the property line and close to construction activities, and that will also be replaced as a part of this project. We also received some additional comments about the new...
What will that fence be?
It will be replicated in place. So
Stockade?
Wood stockade fence.
Okay.
It will be the same.
Okay.
Who will be responsible for maintaining it?
That is a great question. We'll need to talk about that. I would assume everything on our side of the fence or the property side would be maintained by the school.
Okay, is that fence going to be on your side of the property or on the abutter side of the property?
So it's going to be in the exact location it is today. So I would have to really dive into that survey to see what that line exactly is. So I don't know that information. We do know the good side of the fence will be facing the neighbors and the back side will be facing our property.
Okay.
Along with that, though, we did receive some comments about the new parking area here. So it's not shown on this plan, it is shown on your planting plans, but we have added additional buffer in the form of evergreen trees and new evergreen shrubs along that property line that will just really help fill in the gaps. But please keep in mind all of that existing vegetation along the property line is green. And after I go through this, please feel free to ask any further questions that I haven't answered. Snow removal, we have diagrammed location of snow removals on this plan, and as we all know, snow removal is incremental based on the size of the actual event. What you see here in red is where we anticipate kind of your regular normal storm event to be stored on site. That utilizes a lot of landscape islands. Entry drive, we have new grass areas here that can utilize the storm overflow up against the backside of the parking lot. Back sides of the emergency drive so that those can also be plowed during snow events. And then again, within parking areas and down here along additional roadways. If those storm events are larger, there's also potential to store some snow within some of the more remote parking lots that are located more proximal to the fields, with the thought that those fields probably aren't going to be used if you have huge amounts of snow on the ground. So that's what you're seeing there in yellow.
Yeah, the orange, portions of those
The
parking
blue is
lots.
supposed to be pink, that's mine.
And the blue is supposed to be pink?
Yeah.
That's fine. So there's additional snow storage where you see these blue areas too. But this really does capture what we feel is all the parking areas and all the roadways and most importantly, the emergency access through the site.
Can you just a comment, could you open the door? We're supposed to have the door open since it's an open meeting. There was I saw yeah, thank you. Okay, continue.
Thank you. We also received some really good comments about phasing, mostly as it related to how the community was going to access fields, as well as how students were going to safely access the schools during construction. And I think one of those issues was referenced in the email that was read out prior to this. So you do have a phasing document within your plans that's much more detailed, but for the benefit of this meeting, we've prepared something a little bit more diagrammatic so that you could just really see what's going on. So phase 1 really includes the active work area, which is the school being rebuilt. That's shown here in this light orange. And then you have the associated laydown spaces. You'll note here, shown in the aerial, these areas of parking and circulation will all still remain within that school site and be used for circulation of buses and cars. Bus circulation will remain through the front, and then you'll have car circulation wrapping and looping through the rear parking area. So the bigger question we had here was, how is pedestrians or the community going to access Jackson Field? So there will be a gap. You have your existing chain link fencing here, kind of shown in this purple, and then about a 20-foot gap before you'll have that laydown area. Both areas will be fenced. On the project side, you'll have a taller construction fencing with some sort of fabric on it, and then you'll have the chain link that's open here. And the reason for that is just so it doesn't feel like you're walking through a tunnel and creating really an unsafe environment. But that will leave enough space for maintenance vehicles to access those fields. Again, idea is for the existing chain link to just be secured with new fabric as required now, but then fully replaced once those fields get back online so that you have a final and good complete product once it's done. And that doesn't get damaged during construction. And then finally, I think another big question, students accessing the site from Highland, will this walkway be open? Our recommendation, as we noted in that last memo, is for that access to be closed during this phase 1 of construction, because as you can see, there's really no safe route for a student to walk through that access and then through the construction site to the school. So our recommendation would be to close that, and then immediately as you get to phase 2, you can open that back up. Phase 2 really includes the demolition of the existing school, so you see that right here. And then other active work areas will be this lower fields as well as outdoor classroom area. And then the softball fields will be under construction as well. Circulation changes. We have new parking areas that start to come online. So now you'll have bus circulation wrapping this new, same entry drive, but wrapping a new parking area. And then there are 2 options for car drop-offs. they could drop in the same location as they are today, or they do have the option to use this back emergency drive as a drop-off too. So again, as we really want to stress, these cannot be finalized until there's a contractor on board who can help us finalize them and provide their input, but this is really how we see this could work very safely. And as you note here, there are options for both the parent drop-off and a lot of pedestrian connectivity. But in this phase, this is when that Highland Ave connection could open back up again because you have a safe crossing into the school. And then again, parking will be located here, so you will again have access to Jackson Field. And then finally, this is phase 2B. Your active work area here is really this nice large multi-use field here, some additional parking, and then this smaller multi-use field. But it's anticipated that this entire roadway would come online September 2007, so you'd have all of the circulation back up and running, and you're really just finalizing these two fields. Any questions to that? And I know this is kind of like broad level,
Well,
but I think
we'll go through the chair, so.
Perfect.
Yes.
Question,
Yes.
Highland Ave,
Yes.
you're going to close that off?
Just the walkway. The walkway connection, which is
Okay.
located right here.
So that is never gonna be used by any vehicle?
Highland Ave, the walkway from Highland Ave to the site was never proposed to be used by any vehicles for this purpose or change in any way. It's always proposed as just a pedestrian connection.
Okay.
But we want to make it clear that our recommendation would be that pedestrian connection is closed during the first phase of construction for safety purposes.
That's private property, correct?
Now,
The town has an easement though,
An easement, but it's a utility easement though, right?
and walkway. I mean, the town state easement is stated as being,
There's gonna be no vehicle traffic on that.
yeah, the town has an easement to use it for utilities and access. So, and it's been used as a walkway for that purpose, yeah. But it's over private
I
property.
didn't
because
know,
it's an
yeah, I didn't
easement.
know if it was at the pleasure of the property.
No, they have a legal easement,
Illegal?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can go home now.
yeah. And you can continue if you have any.
so before we jump to traffic, which was the last grouping of questions, are there any questions I can
Yeah.
answer on these
Well,
slides?
I'll make a couple comments at this point. First of all, just as a general comment, I appreciate the presentation last time as well as this update. And I thought about this a bit, that there are certainly some things we're going to want as conditions, some of which you're already proposing, so it'll just be, as shown on the plan, this to be fenced, There are some other things that I thought about afterwards that are more, when I might ask the board to consider as recommendations rather than conditions, because this is sort of an unusual project. If we had, somebody was putting up a commercial building behind the existing school, in the location where you're proposing the new school, we'd be very concerned about requiring all kinds of conditions to protect the school while the construction's going on and so forth. Because it's two different owners and whatnot. But this is a case where the town owns both things. Obviously, you've given thought to how to coordinate everything and how to ensure the safety of the students and drivers and so forth. So, I'm less concerned about that kind of level of detail. It's, you're obviously aware of the issues. I will respond to what you've presented by saying I absolutely approve of the idea of closing that walkway. I was going to propose that as a condition if you didn't come up with that. Because I went out and I actually stood at the corner of Highland and Temple and said, okay, if a student has crossed over from the side streets on the other side of Temple, they arrive at the corner of Temple and Highland. Right now, if they walk down Highland and use the walkway, and I walked from there as though there were a construction fence, and you had to circle around it to get to the school. It was 0.35 miles. If you start at Highland and Temple and just walk down Temple and then walk down Cortell and walk into the school, it's 0.45 miles. It's a difference of 1/10 of a mile. So you're not really inconveniencing the walkers, particularly by closing it down, and it's just so much safer to not have that going on during construction. And as for the parents who drive down Highland and park there to pick up their kids, I'm just not so, I'll have more to say about them, but, in that whole situation. But I think that's totally appropriate to do that, and I'm glad you're doing that. Yeah.
During construction, though, the use of, Corthell, I mean, we're also looking for some sort of safety plan for the kids on their way to school, the kids leaving school with construction trucks and parents and school buses and that sort of thing. But wouldn't it make sense to use I guess it would be the Homeland Hope Memorial entrance for safety purposes? Wouldn't it be more safe to open that up and use it? We've already said no construction vehicles, I believe, through that entrance. But wouldn't it make sense to use that to limit the amount of student traffic and bus traffic that would be coming down Corthell and through the construction zone?
Mr. Chairman, may I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr.
I propose that we didn't use that entrance, and one of the main reasons is, well, two reasons, but one of the main reasons is I live off Auburn Street, and I love to cut through the school when they're putting the sewer in, so it would become a highway going through, and it would be much more traffic in addition to school traffic going through.
Yeah.
And you could always put a school, traffic only or something like that.
Yeah, but I
It's already going
don't,
construction.
I don't know how you'd enforce that.
May I finish, please?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Kimball.
Thank you. And the second thing is, when I look at the traffic pattern inside the site, it's not conducive to through traffic. It should be, got parking lots and stuff, so that's why I would be opposed to using it. Thank you.
Mr. Claus, I share some, I think it would become a cut through. I think it would create its own set of problems.
Just during the construction.
Yeah. I just,
And I'm talking about 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the
I don't think
afternoon.
you could control that.
Well,
But I guess I'd ask you, what have you thought about in terms of like the hours when the construction vehicles are going to come versus the hours when the buses are coming, and how are you going to work with that?
well, that's the safety.
Yeah, well, but I think that's what you're addressing.
Yeah, it is. That is something as we discussed last time will be heavily coordinated with the contractor, and there will be conditions put on that. I can tell you, obviously, we will not have, and we've done numbers of these projects. We will not have construction traffic and school traffic entering and exiting at the same time. It's generally been my experience, Troy, I don't know if you want to talk about this or the OPM wants to mention, it's generally been our experience that, deliveries leaving and coming to site is restricted to certain hours, and they absolutely will not be able to line up with when school is either coming or going.
What are the current school hours?
I do not know that off the top of my head.
Anybody here know?
I know they get out around 2:30.
7:40 to 2:15? Yeah.
What time do they open in?
7:40, I think.
7:40.
7:40 right now, yeah.
So would you be having construction vehicles come earlier? Or?
Get on site before that.
Yeah. Okay.
And then either have to leave before or after.
Yeah.
Of course,
Okay.
there will be, obviously there'll be a lot of information in there about, starting construction before whatever the approved hour is, let's assume 7 o'clock. No starting vehicles and letting them run before that, those type of things.
Okay. And that's a kind.
We did not look at access from home. It was our understanding that was not something that was desired. We certainly would go back and look at that if it was something that the board wanted us to, but it's just not something that we even considered because it was our understanding that it was not desirable.
Yeah. And that kind of what you just talked about is the construction vehicles coming before and or leaving afterwards. That's the kind of thing that when I said some other project, I didn't pose that as a condition. Here, I'm going to leave it to. I think we should just leave it to the school.
Well, should we say a safety plan must be in place?
I was actually going to, if I could, through the
Yes.
chair, I was actually going to suggest that if you wanted to condition it that prior to the beginning of construction, that there needs to be an operations plan, traffic access, hours of operation, all of those things in place. I certainly think that that would be reasonable. It's definitely intended to be part of the project.
Okay. Yeah, I think that'd be for the benefit too of the police department, fire department, and so forth, yeah.
Just one last, without going through all the documents, will all of the existing roadways be replaced as part of the project?
That is not included as part of the project right now. Anything outside of the site has not been
Well,
included.
inside the site, I guess from, everything that's green and yellow now.
I don't know about.
Stephanie,
Yeah,
so the
I'm not
entrance,
sure
this
about that.
entire area is parking lot will be repaved. Stephanie, it's just this roadway too, by the connector. So the answer to that is yes.
Okay, and that would include sidewalks? They'd be-
Yes.
Okay, good.
And that extends out to the connection with Cortel?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh, good.
the driveway.
As you recall, we're eliminating the parking along
Okay.
that side of the roadway, so that'll all be reconstructed.
Okay.
Sidewalks.
With bicycle lanes?
Anything else you want, because otherwise, okay, let
We
me,
can segue to traffic.
okay, yeah, go ahead and do the whole presentation, then I have a letter from the building inspector, I know the fire inspector, the fire chief wants to speak as well.
Good evening, everybody. As you know, Par Corporation did a traffic study for this back in 2022. Then in 2023, the decision was made to add the 5th grade. And so we had to update our traffic study, which we have now done.
And the traffic light was removed too.
Correct. Well, the traffic light was, the PED signal, but the PED signal went completely red, whereas now it just flashes. Although that didn't necessarily affect the vehicle movements on Cortel were never a part of that since 2022 anyway. Our traffic study reviewed existing conditions, traffic safety issues such as crash histories and sight distance measurements, as well as looking at, of course, traffic capacities. We focused on 2 primary intersections when it came to traffic capacity, the intersection of Temple and Cortel and the intersection of Temple and Bedford. We utilized the 11th edition of the Trip Generation Manual to estimate the number of new trips that we would expect by adding the 5th grade. It was, I think, came out to 169 extra students based on projections. And we came up with about 113 extra trips, that's ins and outs total, during the morning peak hour, 85 during the afternoon dismissal peak hour, and 25 during the afternoon commuter peak hour. We distributed those trips to these 2 intersections based on existing travel patterns. We have no reason to expect that those patterns are going to significantly change with the addition of the 5th grade. The capacity analyses were conducted based using synchro analysis software for those 2 intersections. And to just kind of cut to all the conclusions, the safety analyses indicated that all the sight distances out here are fine. They exceed all recommended values for the prevailing traffic speeds out here on Temple. And while Temple Street does not appear to have any geometric deficiencies, it doesn't have lots of steep up, vertical or horizontal, it has no horizontal curvature whatsoever in this area. There is an elevated crash rate out here. It's not really clear why. There's a slightly elevated crash rate at the intersection of Temple and Bedford, but most of that data was before they redid the signal and they redid the intersection out there. So that may, with the additional left turn lanes that they put out there, that probably, we hope, will fix the problem, because their problem were collisions between left turning vehicles who didn't have the left turn bay before. On the site itself, we did an assessment of the existing circulation patterns at the existing school. We found that as these things go, no matter what you do, it's always some order of organized chaos. But as schools go, this one was actually organized fairly well. It's relatively efficient. We also found that at least during the course of a normal school day, that doesn't include special events, of course, but during the course of an ordinary school day, less than half of the parking spaces on the site are actually utilized. The new plan, the proposed plan, as you've seen, does an even better job on the existing site of separating the different modes, the buses, the parents, to try to make this even more efficient than it is already. The additional trips from the 5th grade, the analysis of Bedford and Temple made very little difference. There was only a couple of seconds of delay difference between the no build conditions and the build conditions after adding the 5th grade. At Cordell, the analysis indicated that, as people noted in the last hearing, there are, for that 20, 30 minutes at dismissal time, at the arrival time, Cordell's pretty congested, and it can be pretty tough to get out onto Temple because Temple's got a high amount of traffic, especially trying to take a left. Obviously, after we had the 5th grade, without any changes, everything else stays the same, we just add more traffic, that situation isn't going to get any better. It's going to get, those delays will increase comparatively to the amount of additional traffic. But there are some options for how to mitigate at least some of that delay. The most obvious is that the town has already reached out to MassDOT, has already had conversations with MassDOT about signalizing the intersection of Cordell, Temple Street, and also, if that were to happen, the intersection at High Street would also be included in that signal. Now, MassDOT has indicated a willingness to allow that signal to be built, to approve it, but they did note that they will not participate in it, which means funding for that would have to come from.
They were willing to pay to take it down, but not to put it up.
It was there.
Yeah, there was a traffic light there.
So one other, thing that could be done, and I suspect that from time to time it may already sort of operate this way. We don't have survey of Cordell as you get near Temple. The survey we have sort of ends near the site. But there might be enough width of right-of-way to add a short right turn only lane at the end of Cordell, because the real difficulty isn't so much taking a right out of Cordell, it's taking a left out of Cordell. And if you don't have enough room to sneak by that person who's waiting to take a left, that's where the whole line kind of goes, and things really start to back up pretty quickly. I don't know for sure that can actually work, but it's something that's worth at least investigating. And finally, as a short-term measure, there's always the option I know in my town, where I live, the middle school does the same thing. It's kind of a similar setup. They have the police officer out there at the main intersection just for 20 minutes or 30 minutes in the morning, 20 or 30 minutes in the afternoon, just to make sure that traffic get out of Cordell on at least a reasonably efficient manner. So as far as recommendations are to continue the conversation with MassDOT. If funding can't be found to do this immediately, and the school is reconstructed first, we would recommend, collecting some additional data after that school is reopened, because that will help in the discussions with MassDOT about, just how long those delays may be, what those traffic volumes are. And as a conclusion, we believe that the additional trips can be accommodated safely, albeit with some additional delays if there are, if no mitigation is carried forward. But we think that some of that delay, if not a lot of that delay, can be mitigated with either signalization or, police presence during those peak periods in the morning and the afternoon. And that's it.
Okay. Can you give a business card to, do you have a business
Sure.
card to give to our secretary, just so she gets it right for the minutes? I'll make one comment and let the board members comment. Probably makes sense to make comments as each presentation is made. I can think of another mitigation measure that I thought about after the last meeting, which again would be more a recommendation than condition, which is that the school actively encourage the use of buses and discourage parent pickup. It occurred to me, we're building this new school, which is supposed to be energy efficient, and we're going to have electric utilities instead of gas to, promote the environment, and we're putting solar panels on the roof to save energy. And then we're letting parents, we're actually building better access to the school for parents to drive from all over town and sit there with their engines running in the winter waiting for the kids to get out of school, burning all kinds of gasoline. It just seems to me, as I said to one member of the board, I'll play the old Foley card. When I was a kid, you would have been embarrassed to have your parents pick you up and smoke. But also, again, not as a condition, because I don't think we have control over this, but I do think the neighbors should ask the selectmen to establish no parking areas on Highland Ave and Cortell Ave during, 7 to 9 and 1 to 3, whatever the appropriate hours are. So that even after we reopen the walkway to Highland Ave, the people using that are the kids walking to school, not kids walking to get a ride from their parents. And I don't want to throw all that traffic onto Cortell Ave and have cars backed up all the way in Cortell. So that's why I'm saying both streets should be off limits to parents sitting there waiting to pick their kids up at school. So again, we can't impose that, but that's a recommendation I would make.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Last meeting I had suggested that we have Cortell repaved and new sidewalks put in. And I understand it can't be part of this project, but it should be with the town. The town just did, forget the name of it, Glen Street, which is a little street. They just put curbs in, sidewalks and paving. And it's foolish to have a brand new state-of-the-art school and come through a dumpy street to get to it. So I just recommend that you work with the town to try to get it repaved after the construction.
Yeah, and I did take a look, went down and take a look. I mean, the street, Cortell seems to me, the pavement to be in pretty good shape. The sidewalk, I've seen worse in town. It's at least reasonably wide compared to some other sidewalks in town, because I was concerned about the kids walking on Cortell during the construction. But I would agree that would be, again, a recommendation to the town that repaving that sidewalk should be a priority. Our schools, again, we should be encouraging kids to walk to school, and I think the state gives more money for those kind of purposes and so forth, so we ought to be making that a priority. I will want, as I suggested last time, a condition that the school, part of this project should be not repaving Cortell from what it is now, but just if there is damage due to the volume of truck traffic during construction, that they should work with the DPW in some way to get it brought back up to the condition that it's in now. It should not be made worse off by construction. I mean, it doesn't look in terrible shape right now, so maybe it'll withstand the construction vehicles okay. But I don't want it to be worse off than it is now. Any other comments on the traffic issue? Yes, Mr.
My
Keenan?
concern is, people leaving Carthel. I'm not so sure that should be up to the crossing guard for that intersection to do all that directing of traffic. I think they need to find a more viable option, whether it's a signal or a detail or whatever. I don't think it should be really left up to a crossing guard. They have to spend the whole time directing the traffic.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that there should be a traffic signal there without, and the flashing light, the kind of yellow, whitish flashing thing. I mean, as people get used to it, it becomes more effective, but it's never going to be the same as having a red pedestrian light.
Well, there's only one sidewalk on Corthell, correct?
Yes.
So the
Yes.
children
Yes,
coming from the Bedford side,
yeah,
they have to cross
they have
over
to cross over to
Corthell,
get to the
right,
sidewalk.
in order to get to the sidewalk.
Right, yeah.
So you've got a crossing guard trying to keep an eye on the kids.
And the flashing light doesn't even affect that. The flashing light's just if you're crossing Temple, not if you're crossing Cortell.
Right.
And I'd rather see this working set of lights with a motion sensor for
Yeah.
Carthel Ave. So that it's only going to get activated when people coming up Carthel Ave. It's not going to be a complete cycle every single time. The only time that's going to turn green for Carthel is when there's actually a car on Carthel trying to get out. And they can limit that. That's what they did with Hanson Middle School. I
Okay,
believe that light is up. When they leave the school, that's on a motion, so that it only gets activated when there's somebody actually trying to leave that school.
okay.
This way here, it's not tying up the traffic on the main road as much, when it doesn't have to be.
I'd like to know whose decision it was to take that light out to begin
It was
with.
the
Whether it's
state.
the state or the town.
Yeah, it's the state.
My understanding is it was MassDOT's, yes.
Yeah,
It was,
it's their highway.
And a little bit of clarification, right? It's a pedestrian signal. It was press the pedestrian signal, turn red, now it's press and flashes. I think one of the things that Derek was recommending, and I think that Mass Highway has entered into the town discussions, that it's actually a full-blown traffic signal, right? Which is what you're talking about. A signal that will stop and allow traffic
But
to
that
go,
signal,
not just pedestrians.
that signal was, if I remember correctly, that signal was capable of turning red with traffic.
It may.
I think so, because I can remember coming down High Street, and that was a full traffic signal.
Yeah.
The crossing guard can control it, so she could
That's-
stop it
That's what I
and
remember.
then let Cortell
Right.
traffic out.
But I'm
It
saying,
makes sense.
it was a
That's what we
full,
need now.
it was a full red-green traffic light, because if you came down High Street, you had to wait for the light to
Technically,
turn
in
green.
High Street, you did not, I live on High Street, you did not have to stop at that light.
Oh, really?
Not a light there.
It's just-
But
It was because of the angle? Yeah,
because of the angle, you could come out to the left, you couldn't go right.
okay, okay. Anything further on the traffic? Okay.
I was just going to say, Mr. Chair, that concludes our presentation
Okay.
for tonight. So if you want to
Okay.
or public on anything, we'd be
Okay.
answer what we can.
Okay, the building inspector could not be present tonight, but he sent a letter. I know the fire chief will wish to speak to this too. So I'll read into the record a letter from the building inspector. Dear Honorable Board, I have no objection to the application for 100 Cortell Ave, Whitman, Mass. The applicant should be aware that this building official, in tandem with the fire chief, will be requiring the building plans be reviewed by an approved third-party firm in accordance with 780 CMR Massachusetts State Building Code before any permits will be issued. A building permit must be issued prior to the start of construction. The applicant is welcome to schedule an appointment with my office if they have any questions. Respectfully, Robert Piccarelli, Whitman Building Commissioner. And so I'd like to call him the fire chief. I know he has
Just
something he wants to say.
The building commissioner said, with the scope of the project and the magnitude of it, it's just not capable for us to review the plans. So that's why we're going to request the third-party review. And I think it benefits all of us with the protection provided with the third-party review, because we'll have the year afterwards to make sure it's still good.
And that would be at the expense of the applicant, yes.
A question to the fire chief. Is there gonna be a fire pump in this building? And if there is, it's gonna be diesel powered or electric powered?
I have no idea, there's no plans yet. There's no spring, no. There won't be no fire. I would assume there's no fire pump.
Wasn't required.
No, it's too small to have a fire pump, but.
But again,
We'll review the thing, but the third party is.
that's the kind of thing you'll have to review.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll definitely make that a condition of approval. All right, let me go to the members of the board then for further questions and comments. Mr. Keeman?
I had nothing further to say.
Okay. Mr. Andrews?
Nothing.
Okay. Mr. Kimball?
I just want to thank the proponents of answering our questions and coming back with a very good plan. Thank you. So, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Mr. Blas?
Just a quick question, we may have covered this before, but the new building, the site, is there ledge there? Is it expected that we're gonna need to dynamite in order to clear that, or we don't know?
It's not. A full geotechnical study was done for the site prior to we started design, and I don't believe that there's any concerns. I can verify that and get back to you, but there's no plans for blasting, and I don't believe that we encountered ledge at a depth where we're going to encounter it during
I
construction.
just wanted to make sure,
Yeah.
just for the neighbors in case of any
It's not a
damage and
huge,
things.
not a huge change in grade out here, which is a good thing that works in our favor. Some sites we come to, you got to have big excavations for it. This one is going to be relatively on grade for where it's at, so no anticipated for any blasting.
And then just a confirmation, you will be then going to conservation, correct?
We will. We're actually very anxious to get in front of the Conservation Commission. They made a decision that they actually would not hear us until
Right,
after
till
you
after
close us. So we are very anxious to get in front of them as we move towards construction documents.
Thank you, all set.
Okay. Let me just... Okay, I'm just gonna, let's see, one thing we didn't cover today, we should might have covered last time, but I want to go over it, is the lighting. There was a question last time about ensuring that the lighting, that there isn't anything shining, particularly on the Highland Ave properties. Is that,
Yes, so there was a lighting plan provided within your original construction documents. It's not shown here on this
Okay.
presentation, but everything's dark sky friendly and there will be no overflow off property lines. And that is regulated, so.
everything shines downward?
Yeah.
Is there lighting on any of the athletic fields?
Yes, I believe there is lighting on the baseball fields. Existing.
Existing.
Now, the parking lot's still gonna be, if they're not used, the lights are dimmed instead of being full brightness. I thought the last meeting we were talking about
That's correct.
parking lot
Yeah.
lighting
That's
would be, if it's not used, they get
That's
tapped
correct.
in
Yeah, that's
to
correct.
save money and cut down the light.
Correct.
It's still gonna go.
Correct.
Right. Can you maybe go back to the slide that shows, post-construction, what the where the new fields and everything will be in parking areas? That's,
Right, so
okay.
all your
So-
ball
yeah.
fields, these are all existing, we're just, again, renovating these back too, and then reorientating, same amount of fields, just reorientated on the site.
And so the parking area that's to the right of the existing school to below, yes, that one there. So like that was the one where I was concerned about lighting, since that's going to be closest to the Highland Ave. So,
Yes.
so all those lights will shine downward and wouldn't even be on unless
Yeah,
the
they'll all
parking
shine
lots are.
downward, right, and there won't be any overflow onto
Okay,
adjacent properties.
yeah.
And
And-
again, this isn't showing this properly, but it always helps to have this line of existing vegetation.
Yeah, you're gonna have vegetation and a fence, so that's, okay. So I'm just gonna kind of walk through some of the conditions versus recommendations that we've discussed. And I'll echo, I think you've done a good job of addressing some of the issues that came up last time. We'll go out to the neighbors and see if there's more that needs to be addressed. Requiring the fencing along the neighbors and field properties as shown on the plan. In this case, we'll just be referring to the plan, I think. Requiring peer review as requested by the building inspector and fire department, the expense to be borne by the applicant. And just in consultation with them, we're not going to specify what that should be, but you'll discuss what needs to be done. Cortell Ave to be, if necessary, to be restored to its current condition. Hours of construction, we kind of threw that around last time, but didn't really settle on that. And in the absence of the building inspector, I'll ask Mr. Curran what the standard hours are, because they might need to be varied a little bit here if we need to let them at least get the truck vehicles in a little earlier than, but normally it's 7 to 5.
7 to 7.
7 to 7 weekdays.
Yeah, 7 to 7, then we did 8 to 5 on Saturdays and no work on Sundays.
But at 7 o'clock, that would mean that's when the kids are gonna start, kids.
Yeah, so I'm thinking you
Everything
actually,
has to already be there by 7.
we actually,
Your schedule around the kids take priority, for
Yeah.
sure.
but we at least want to specify the trucks can arrive earlier than 7 because
They really have to.
you really have to
It,
get.
it would, but just to be clear, they would not start construction before.
Okay. But I want to put in there, an explanation that,
So all the construction workers get to beat school traffic into the property.
yes, that's what we want them to do.
So they gotta
Yeah.
pay all their employees an hour.
Okay. I was simply put in here that as proposed by the applicant, the walkway from Highland Ave is to be closed during phase 1 of construction until the new school is completed. As a recommendation that the town impose no parking zones on Highland and Cortell during the hours when the school is, the wording is,
Well,
the
both.
arrival and departure times from the school. Again,
During construction and once completed.
yes. But again, that's not something we can require, but we're recommending it. So again, to your neighbors, when you go to the selectmen, you'll have something where the zoning board has recommended it. And I think maybe that'll help. Just lighting. The lighting we've addressed. It was brought up last time that there be a rodent control plan in place approved by the Board of Health during construction, which I think is sort of a standard thing anyway, but
It will be standard with this project.
yeah,
There's no problem
so
with that.
we'll, put that in just as a condition, that there be a operations and safety plan in place prior to the start of the project. We will recommend that the town work with Mass DOT to restore a full signal at the intersection and explore the possibility of a right-hand turn lane on Cortell. We can't do more than that. Recommend that the school department encourage the use of school buses and discourage the use of private vehicles to transport students. I think we should require a traffic study post-construction, after the opening of the school. There should be a further traffic study to determine the impact of the additional class. And if you have some suggestion on how that should be worded, I'm open to that. But I think you kind of brought it up. I think once the school's in operation, there should be a traffic study. It may help with DOT. But also, I think, I just think people should know what has changed as a result of the school opening.
I think the only thing I would recommend to that, Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
is one to call it a traffic impact analysis.
Thank you.
Rather than just a generic study.
That's what I wanted.
Sounds much better.
Yeah. And Mr. Keeman had suggested possibly a motion detector in Cortell to limit the number of times that might make it more palatable to not interrupting the traffic on Temple unnecessarily. So, yeah, as proposed, as represented by the applicant, Hawk Memorial Drive and Homeland Drive will not be used for access to the construction site, and nor will the walkway from Highland Ave be used, and construction vehicles and construction employee vehicles will not be parked on either Highland or Cortell Ave. Any other things just put up, Mr. Kimball?
During construction, especially when we get to the interior work of the school, if required, that the contractor look at additional off-site parking. I know that when you get in a lot of the services, you may have 150 people working in there, so maybe an off-site parking site might be something to look at.
Needed during the period of construction? Yeah. Have you considered that?
The only thing I would say to that is that they're going to be restricted to the areas that we're giving them. There won't be available parking anywhere else on site. So if they do need additional parking, they're going to have to try to find.
The contract as well?
Parking.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and I think as long as we said no.
It's not something we normally say, hey, you have to do this, but they have a very specific area, and if they have that many trades coming to the site at one time, a lot of it depends on how they phase it, whether they have space available or not, but it is something that they likely will need to consider.
Yeah,
When school is in session, they definitely can use the regular parking spots, but that's another issue.
Well, they still will be. They have a construction area that they're confined to, and they need. We do anticipate, there'll be people coming to use fields and things like that. We do not want, any of the general construction mixing with any of the general public. So even during off-school times, they will very specifically be confined to the areas that were shown in the phasing plans.
And go ahead, Mr.
No,
I'm just going to say, by us having a condition in there that construction-related vehicles are not to park on Cortell or Highland, that'll help you when you go out to bid, right? That here's the conditions of site plan approval, and that way they'll know that they have to go off. So, yeah, okay. All right. Yes, I'm sorry.
One thing about Highland Ave and the walkway, I know they're going to be running another water line down there. My only concern is if that widens that right away at all, I'd like to make a recommendation that they at least put some sort of bollards at both ends to prohibit any vehicle traffic from going down there.
Well, tell us, will it change? Is the walkway like 10 feet wide now?
I believe our intention is not the widening. Yeah. We certainly would be amenable to a condition like that if those conditions do change, that we would include bollards so traffic can't drive down.
Yeah.
It's a regular sidewalk, but you could you could drive down there, but it's very overgrown. I walk it pretty much every day in the summer. So I don't know what you're talking about, not allowed, just blocking it off so that no vehicles.
No, I just want to make sure the cars cannot drive up and down.
A bollard, just a post.
I mean, I don't know anybody would dare do it because it's so overgrown. And it's just
likely we'll have to make some selective trimming to do the water work.
But the walkway itself is just a regular sidewalk.
Yeah, it's basically if
you tried to drive down and you'd have one set of wheels in the mud.
Yeah. I would want a condition, which I think is kind of obvious, that once you install the water line, you'll repave the walkway.
Of course. That's fine. You're welcome to put a condition even without it. That certainly will be done.
Wasn't there one?
Again, we're amenable to a condition, whether it's a bulkhead or a boulder or something like that. We're amenable to a condition like that. We've done. In no way do we, and our understanding is neither does the school want to encourage anybody to drive down.
I guess that's the kind of thing I guess I'd kind of leave up to the school. I don't want to make it more dangerous for a kid biking to the school.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a tough issue with ATVs in that neighborhood, so it might be a good idea to prevent
I'll just ask the neighbors, has ATV use been there's certainly been a problem with ATVs tearing up the fields. Yeah.
We can easily add boulders.
Yeah. Okay.
There's two boulders there now.
Any other issues before I go out to the neighbors?
Wasn't there one variance that was part of the?
Was there any variance?
I was actually just going to suggest before you went to the neighbors, one thing that I did want to bring up. There is a height variance. We did present on it last time. We'd be happy to bring that slide back up if you'd like.
Well, at least give us just what the dimensions were on that, what the requirement is and what the height of the building would be.
Yeah, the highest point of the building is at 42 feet, and the residential neighborhood is at 35 foot.
Okay. Does anybody want to see the slides again? Or?
No.
Yeah.
Just need,
And I think, you did state you're sort of stepping it back so it won't be so obvious. So, all right, with that, let me go out. Thank you for everybody for your patience, but hopefully this has been helpful to all of you. Anyone who wishes to speak on this, would you raise your hand, give us your name and address, and direct your comments through us? Yes, ma'am.
Shannon Flanagan, 39 Cortella. Are you doing any lighting while the walkway for the kids? There'll be some lighting, so.
There will be some, they won't be tall street lights, they'll be like pedestal lights that wrap
Around
the lower field. Yeah.
Are they gonna stay or are they gonna be gone after?
They'll remain in place. There'll be ornamental lights that are there to meet ISNA safety standards.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Johnson Highland Ave. You said you're gonna close the path. I live near the path there. And are you gonna close the path just during phase 1, say? Not during phase 2 at all?
correct.
Right, the idea is when the new school is open the path, because you'll actually be,
So just during phase 1, just it will be closed during that, but then when the school reopens the new school, or there'll still be the existing school?
I'll let
I guess is
you,
I'm a little confused about.
yeah.
All right, well, I'm
Because the
sure
parking on there now, with the parents, you're right, it's ridiculous. I see it on my right camera, it's all the way up the street.
So this is phase 2A, but the intent is as soon as this sidewalk here and these crosswalks are available for use, that is when that walkway can be reopened, and that is at the start of 2A. So once this school is constructed, this existing school is coming down, but this parking area will be constructed and this walkway will be constructed. So at that point in time, you will have a really safe connection that's not a part of the construction zone whatsoever for those kids to utilize.
Okay, I was just worried more about the traffic on my street, because Cortell's gonna be, because that's what they do now, because you can't get down Cortell half the time, so they park on my street, to let the kids off.
And that's why I'm recommending that the selectmen and that you folks go to the selectmen and get no parking during school opening and dismissal hours. And I will say, in addition, there is going to be a longer queue area on the school property
That is correct.
for parents picking up their kids, which, again, I'd rather be discouraged, but, so that should also make less incentive to be parking on Highland or on Cortell. But I'm sure certainly on Highland, once the new school's up and the walkway's back, unless there's, town bylaw against it or regulations and traffic signs up, every parents are gonna be parking on Highland just like they are now. So,
Okay,
thank you.
appreciate it.
Anyone else? Yeah, yes, sir.
John Galvin, I live on High Street, not Cortell, but my comments are, the school bell is at 7:40. The school opens 20 minutes beforehand, so that's 7:20.
Yeah.
I live on High Street in Belmont, and that whole upper High Street, they all walk. They don't get buses.
Yeah,
Kids are walking by my house before 7 a.m. just to get down there. So you're talking about having construction trucks going down Cortell at 6:30 in the morning to get there? I just don't think that's very.
well, this is what I think the safety plan needs to address, because you're right. Kids are going there early. I don't know what time are the teachers in the building.
Yeah.
So there's going to be traffic on Cortell.
I think the teachers have to be there at 7:10.
Yeah.
If it's similar to Conley, because it's like my wife works at Conley.
Yeah.
She has to be there at 8:10. They start at 8:40.
Yeah.
So the teachers are there at 7:10. The kids are allowed in at 7:20, and the bell's at 7:40.
Yeah.
So those trucks coming down, it's going to be 6:30 in the morning. People are going to be hearing big trucks going down Cortell if you live on Cortell. That's just one comment. I had another comment until we forgot about it, so that's all right.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's a good point. I mean, I think in terms of us saying there needs to be a safety plan and, and determine when the construction vehicles should be entering. But you're right, I think it's the nature of this project. If you live on Cortell, you're gonna have construction vehicles driving down between 6 and 6:30, probably. What's the duration, run by the timing and duration of the construction period for all this too, if you would.
Okay, phase one, this is the new construction of the actual school. Spring 2025 to February 2027. Apologize, these slides are going through right now.
That's
Spring of 2025 means when? Is it after school is out in beginning of June, which is still spring?
Our architectural team.
Yeah, likely the bids will be open in February, contract in March, probably won't mobilize until late March, early April. Establish construction fence, establish perimeter, and then construction likely won't happen until May roughly, but it will be before school dismisses for the summer. Yeah.
okay.
Sorry, again, phase 2A, so this is demo of the existing building, the 2 softball fields and a small multi-use field. So February 2027 to September 2027.
So we're 24 months for construction of the new school.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
But really, spring of 2025 to September 27, we're talking, 2.5 years, 2.5 years of construction.
And fields will go online as construction occurs, but we anticipate the last of the athletic fields, which is just the small multi-use fields, at the longest would be 2029.
And you said roughly 2 years to bring each field back to usable.
No. So the fields are
You're to
specified
roll.
to be sod, so it's much, much quicker than that. So it's likely this could happen first, but, we err on the side of caution with the growing season.
And what happens during 2B?
So 2B is the remainder of the circulation, the bus kind of loop off in the front, and then the big multi-use field in the front of the school.
Okay.
And then there's a smaller field to the
Oh,
side.
so that's, lesser impact,
Relatively speaking, a lot
lot less.
less intensity construction than compared to.
Okay. Anyone else? Just kind of throw out to neighbors, have we addressed, as much as we can, mitigated the impacts here with all the conditions and with the changes that they've made to it? Okay. All right. Anything further?
We've hit on what?
Okay. At this point, then, I will close the hearing, and I think you got them all. You got all the conditions. Got it all done. I won't restate them all. We've got a tape recording, so we can go back over it. We have conditions. There are some points that we'll make just in terms of recommendations. Anything? Yes.
Is there a vote on the height variance?
Excuse me?
In one variance.
Yes, we'll include that in the motion. So I'll entertain a motion to grant the height variance as requested and to grant site plan approval with the conditions that have been stated. Moved by Mr. Andrews. Is there a second?
Yes, there's recommendations in conditions.
Yes, recommendations, yeah.
Yeah, per the revised site.
Yes,
plan
we'll
dated
reference.
November 26th.
Yeah, we'll reference the date of the revised site plans. Who seconded that? Ms. Kimball?
I did.
Okay, Mr. Kimball. Okay.
Blame me when it's.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all in favor? 5-0. You're ready to roll.
Build a school.
Good luck with it.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all your time, and we also like to
And I'll also remind any of the neighbors here that when there is the Conservation Commission hearing, the abutter rules are a little bit different for Conservation Commission versus Zoning Board, but if you're an
You
immediate,
got notified for this, I'm chances are.
yeah, if you're an immediate abutter, you'll get notice.
There is a 20-day appeal period.
So we'll be filing the decision within 2 weeks, and then there's a 20-day appeal.
What's the date on it?
Dated November 26th.
I thought you were making a statement.
Thank you, really, this is well-organized and focused presentation, appreciate it. Thank you.
It's not, it's been approved, it's not, so,
I'll take one of the sets of plans home with me, just so I have to look at it.
no, in case you want to build up.
You can't even take this and show them what the school's gonna look like.
Okay, if folks could take the discussion outside, we still have some business to do here.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good job.
Good job, yeah.
Did these come in plastic bags?
Here's one. Got one here.
Great, I'll take one and only.
It was an elastic band around like 4 copies, so.
Okay, well,
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
maybe that's.
Redo.
Hey, what's this?
That's another couple. I got more copies here. They gave us like 9 copies. So if you all want a copy, please,
Please do.
please,
This, honey,
please
this,
take
I
it.
swear this throws that to me.
Okay.
You wanna take one home?
I'll take one just so when I'm reviewing the decision. Okay, we do have some minutes. Let's see. Minutes for case number 18, Jeremy Caruso, 221 High Street. That is the special permit for a 1-bedroom unit in the basement. And let's see, that was the 5 regular members sat on that.
That was High Street.
Yes.
Is that the only condition that we clean the property?
We made it 1 bedroom and that the owner must clean up the property grounds before a building permit is issued.
Okay, move to approve.
Okay, motion to approve by Mr. Blas, second by Mr. Andrews, all in favor? 5-0.
Easy.
Mr. Curran, were you in favor of that too?
Yeah.
Okay, 5-0. Case number 19, which was the marijuana establishment at 305 Bedford Street. Motion to approve by Mr. Andrews, second by Mr. Curran, all in favor? 5-0. And the general minutes for that meeting.
John Wayne, Richard, Bob. That was 5-0. I'll move to approve again.
Okay, moved by Mr. Blas, second. Mr. Andrews, all in favor? 5-0. Okay, so we have a meeting on January 13th. January 13th, we have 2 cases at this point scheduled. 13th, Monday the 13th. Yeah, we've got property across from Hornstra Farms they want to put a industrial building and use it for storage. And property on Glen Street. And then 88 Glen Street. I'll send out copies of the the applications.
January 13th.
Yes,
You did 2 cases.
yep. And nothing else has come in yet.
Not yet.
If, and Mr. Keeman, you're gonna be away on the
I'll be away
13th.
for the January.
So we definitely will need the alternates for that one. Get one each, how's that? You get to sit on the case, Mr. Jones. And if anything else comes in, could schedule, if it comes in time, we could hold a second meeting in January 27th.
I will be home for that one.
You'll be home for that one. So you know, if it comes in time, otherwise the second Monday in February. But Carl Garvey said he had a couple more things in the pipeline. So we will have a couple more cases. I'll also mention, I did meet with the select board the night of the special town meeting. They did refer the zoning amendment back to the planning board, so the planning board can now go ahead and schedule, at least get an ad in the paper.
Gotta have the public hearing.
Yeah, and I won't go to the planning board meetings from here, but as long as they get an ad printed in the paper in January, the hearing can be later. And it might as well be, if you push it later, we'll know more about state regulations and so forth. And I just got a notice,
Didn't they come out with a sample?
I haven't looked at the email yet. I just got an email from the state with their proposed regulations. There'll be a comment period before they finalize it.
Yeah, and
So-
I got an email from Samboa for that.
Yeah, so it's in the works. I think probably by February 1st, there will be state regulations in place. And the select board did also authorize me to contact town council and have them review it. But again, until we get the state regulations. So there's reasons to push the hearing off a little bit to see how
Once
this
this all gets, approved and up and working, this board's not gonna have a lot of business.
Yeah.
A lot of the business we do now
Well,
is gonna be automatic, they
we-
don't need our approval.
We've only had, I know it seems like a lot, but we've had 2, 3 applications a year for those in-law. It has seemed more, but it actually hasn't been.
The
2, 3, maybe 4 a year.
So much they're taken away from us and making it
Yeah.
right. They don't
Yeah.
need to do
Yes.
something for the board.
Did you make the modifications to the accessory apartment? Last meeting, we talked about some of the things that.
Yeah, I didn't change anything in that, but again, that can be changed later, even after the hearing.
It can be changed at the public hearing.
Yeah, it could be changed on town meeting floor, but I wouldn't want that. But I think the idea is you hold the public hearing, see what feedback you get, make any changes that are necessary before it goes on the town meeting warrant. So,
You'll go to the public hearing, right?
oh, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, are we gonna do anything with the pork chop lots? Or not, this time?
Oh,
Only one.
to
Or you want to,
formalize what we do. It's
I
a
don't know if
thought.
you wanna only put one thing on the town meeting warrant. for the zoning
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, let's consider that maybe. I don't see any reason not to have, they're two very different
Yeah,
kind of issues.
two articles.
Yeah, I don't see a reason not to do it, so. Okay, anything further? To entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Kimball, even though he's not an official member, we'll let him do it. Second